In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, it is all about Spanish wing Hugo Gonzalez. Me and James Barlowe, we are going to share our thoughts on Gonzalez. We're going to talk about his offensive strengths. We're going to talk about his defense. We're going to talk about his performance this summer, NBA fit, and what to expect from him playing for Real Madrid in 24-25. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I am your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my brother, James Barlowe. And like I mentioned, this episode is all about Hugo Gonzalez. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. That is the best way to help us grow this channel. And once again, big thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate it, simply because it's the off season. And, you know, a lot of people aren't really interested in basketball during the off season. There's a lot of people that kind of start to listen once the season starts and so on. So thank you for listen to us every day during the off season, because there's really not been a lot to talk about, but we find stuff to talk about because that's what we do here. And we are about 50 days away from college basketball. I want to say it's a little under 30 for NBA, but they've already started playing in Europe. I know, like in Australia, for example, they've had a few games with the NBL Blitz. There's been some friendlies and some preseason games in Europe. And one of the hottest prospects in Europe is Hugo Gonzalez, a wing from Spain. I've seen him listed at 6'4". I've seen him listed at 6'6". But I want to hear your thoughts on Hugo Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'm on the fence, man, with Hugo Gonzalez, man. I see it, and then at times I don't see it. And at the same time, I don't know what he is going to do at a high level in the NBA. I'm just struggling right now trying to put a fingerprint on what he does well.
All right. Go with his strengths. In your opinion, what are his strengths? What does he do well?
Well, if you list him as a 2, I think he's a big guard, 6'4", 6'5". I think he's a good athlete, not necessarily a great athlete. He can handle some, but I don't know if I trust him to be my league ball handler. He does attack the basket, and he does show some flashes of being able to like handle the ball and pick and roll. But again, I don't know if any of these things are going to be great or even really good at the next level. Because it looks like right now at his age level, his age group, he has a physical advantage. And what does he do when he doesn't have that same physical advantage?
I think he's a guy that does a lot of things well. I wouldn't say there's one thing that he does great, but it's hard to deny the impact that he's been able to have on the game playing in youth tournaments in Europe. I first saw him play, I guess it was a little bit more than 2 years ago. It was at an under-16 tournament. And, I mean, he was impressive. But the thing that stood out to me the most about Gonzalez's game is just the motor, the intensity, how hard he plays. Doesn't take a play off. Sometimes the motor and intensity and the competitive fire can get the best of him. He can get some techs. He can be a little wild. I know I think it was the U18 tournament, he had like 4 fouls in almost every game. So he may need to tone it down a little bit, but I just love the fact that he plays so hard every possession. In Europe, I will say that he did have an athletic advantage. He was probably one of the most athletic wings. And he makes some athletic plays. He'll come down the lane. He'll dunk on you, attempt to dunk on you. He just plays so hard. The shot is getting better. It's still not necessarily there, but I mean, he's 18, so he's far from a finished product. But I do think, like, from the baseline of skills, there's a lot to like there, from the athleticism, the strength, the flashes of being able to create his own shot. He has been able to score on the youth levels. And if he can just get the shot to become a little bit more consistent, I think that there's a role for him as like this 3-and-D wing that can attack a closeout. You know, it's more so like a 3-and-D cutter that can also kind of serve as an additional playmaker. So that's how I feel about him.
I mean, in theory, yeah, but for me, for you to have the three by your name and that three and D attributes, you have to indeed make threes. And doing some research on Synergy, he hasn't shot over 22% on jump shots over like the past 3 summers. So
Yeah.
like, his jump shot is a major concern. And you can say, well, he's playing in the now he's playing with Real Madrid in the men's league, the big man league, and like wide open, he's got some really, really, really bad misses. And it just makes you wonder if he didn't have the. I mean, you talk about the skills, but a lot of his attributes, his positives, are physical talents. They're not skill talents. And I don't know what he's gonna do in the NBA.
I mean, he's skilled. Now, I don't want to make it seem like he's just this raw athlete that's just scoring off of just running up and down the court and dunking on people. He can create his own shot. Some, I wouldn't say it's like, I mean, Anthony Edwards, I wouldn't say like he's an elite shot creator, but I mean, if you watch his film, you can see some step backs, you can see some crossovers. I remember just like a few weeks back,
Man,
we had an episode and you were like, I like him.
hey man,
And
look, I got some face wash. I washed my face, and speaking of that same episode, you were like, "Man, he's the Spanish Ron Holland,
yeah,
right?"
Ron Holland was the fifth pick.
But he's not the athlete that Ron
He's
is.
not the
I
athlete as
don't think
Ron.
he's
I think he's a
close
better.
to the athlete or the defender that Ron is.
No,
And
he's a
that was,
good defender.
but here's the thing:
He's a good defender.
since we going there, like Ron went fifth, and his draft range was between 5 and 18 in what people think was a weaker draft.
Yeah.
So my thing is with Hugo Gonzalez, if he's Spanish, if he's El Ron Holland, then what's his draft range in a much stronger draft? And he's not gonna get the usage, the opportunities that Ron had playing the G League Ignite because he's playing for Real Madrid. So I don't think you're going to get an opportunity to see what you think you can see from him because he's not, unless something changes, he's not going to get the opportunities to give you that high usage where you can be like, you know what, I can see the vision with Ron because he just has so many opportunities. I don't think Hugo's going to get that.
Well, that's why the NBA teams have to watch what he did this summer because you're going to get a chance to watch him against his age group, and that's part of the challenge with scouting international prospects because you have to watch what they did against their age group, and you have to try to figure out is it going to translate once they get older? Because at 17 years old, especially on a team like Real Madrid, it's going to be tough for him to get real minutes in the ACB because the guys ahead of him are former NBA players or guys that really could be fringe NBA players, especially in a city like Madrid where you can choose, like, do I want to be the backup in Milwaukee or do I want to live in Madrid and play in the, it's not a knock on the city of Milwaukee, but I've known situations where guys choose to live in like an Istanbul or a Barcelona or Milwaukee, or Madrid or Milan over having a fringe rotation role in the NBA. But as far as his defense, I think he's a good defender. At least at the Adidas Next Generation Tournament, if you count stocks, it was like 5.3 stocks per game. He'll lead the tournament in steals. He blocks shots. And
I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I just don't know if he's going to give you the same level of defense. And even if he does, if he gives you the same level of defense as Ron, does that make him any better of a prospect than like Ron? Because again, he has disadvantages compared to Ron. Again, it's two different drafts. It's going to be two different philosophies. But like I said, I don't see. When you ask the question in the third segment, what does it look like if Hugo Gonzalez is not a X pick? I think he could not be a first round pick in this particular draft.
yeah, I think he'll go. I think he'll go first round just because again the track record is there. I mean, he's been good at pretty much every level.
But
And
this is
I
NBA.
yeah,
This
I
isn't
know, but I mean it's almost like that with any other prospects. Like in any other prospect that we're talking about. I do think that sometimes if it's a European prospect and he's not considered a good shooter, it's kind of held against him a little bit more than it would be as an American prospect who's athletic and is not a good shooter, because you say, well, he can't shoot now, but he can grow into a shooter. I think sometimes you expect international prospects to be further along.
But
in
that's
certain
because we hear the people beat the drum that they have way more skills and skills and skills, and all they do is practice all day, and we just play king of the court. And it's like, okay, well, he can't shoot right now. He hasn't been able to shoot, and nothing has indicated like he hasn't progressed as a shooter in 3 summers. Like, let's label him the same way we label an American kid. He
and
can't shoot.
I think it's the same either way. If you have an advantage where you can get to the line, like I think one of these tournaments this summer, he got to the line like 7 times per game. You're
Yeah.
going to stick to what you do best. All right. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit more about Hugo Gonzalez. We're going to talk about his performances this summer and last season in the Adidas Next Generation Tournament and the FIBA U18s. But before we get into the second segment, let's talk about FanDuel. You've heard us talk about FanDuel a lot. That's because FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And it's been America's #1 sports book for a while. And they have something new for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, you got to check out the Locked On NBA podcast, because there is no offseason in the NBA, and the Locked On NBA crew provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts, and you get it in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and as entertained as Locked On NBA. It is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, let's talk about his performances in the ANGT, which is the Adidas Next Generation Tournament. It's actually my favorite tournament to scout international prospects, at least during the season. He was the MVP, averaged 17.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 3.3 steals, and 2 blocks per game. Had a big game where he had 23 points and hit a clutch shot to lead Real Madrid to victory. They won like their second championship. I think the game was against Nolan Traore. And then at the U18s, he averaged 20 points per game. He finished 4th in scoring, had a 26-point game against Lithuania, a 32-point duel against Ben Serif in Israel, 30-point game against Finland. He averaged nearly 7 free throw attempts per game. And then again, on the defensive end, 2.7 steals and 2 blocks per game. What were your overall thoughts on his performances in the ANGTs and the FIBA U18s, and why are you still a little concerned?
Again, he played well, but like I mentioned in the first segment, like he has a clear physical advantage overseas. And I don't know if he's gonna have I don't think he's gonna have that same physical advantage that he has here, or excuse me, that he will have here. So it's like you can't argue the output, right? But you can say, is he the best? Was he the best NBA prospect on his under 18 team for that Spain under 18 team? You talked about you were a big fan of Mario Saint Supri, and again he was good, he was solid, but it's just like jump shot concerns. Again, a lot of these kids, yes, obviously they're the stars of their team, but what does it look like in a lower usage role for Hugo Gonzalez? And that's just my biggest issue. Now, good defense. He shows flashes of doing a lot of things really well. But again, my concern is in a drill down role, what does he do well?
Well, here's the thing about the advantages you talked about. I think if Hugo Gonzalez last year as a 17-year-old was a senior in high school with his advanced physical frame, I think he would have been an elite high school player.
I'm not saying he wouldn't be an elite high school player. I'm
And so
saying,
I'm
what does it
looking at
look
it
like
as,
at the NBA level?
Yeah, but I'm looking at it as the same way. Like I don't think like the numbers that he put up in Europe would not have translated if he were playing AAU or high school. I do get your concern that if the jump shot doesn't, if the jump shot doesn't improve, then it could lead to some real concerns about his NBA role. But at the same time, we're talking about an 18-year-old who, and I get it. I mean, there was a time where the free throw shooting was bad, and there are, I do have some concerns about the overall touch. I think over time that can be fixed, but I just think there's so many other things that he brings to the table as far as like competitive fire and defensive intensity that I think he'll find a way to make an impact on the game. And I do think that once the game slows down for him a little bit, I do think he's going to be someone that can be at least a, maybe not your secondary playmaker, but at least your third guy on the floor that you can give the ball to late in the shot clock, put him in a ball screen, and he can make something happen. Whether it's getting to the foul line, drawing two defenders, kicking it out, because he had decent assist numbers. But I'm, it's funny because I said he was, the Spanish Ron Holland. And depending on how you look at it, some people may look at it as a positive, and some may look at it like that's a negative. I think he's going to be fine.
Listen, I was more of a Ron Holland fan than you were this last draft cycle.
Yep.
But I also said there's a good opportunity that Ron could be Josh Okogie. Because again, when you just go out there and you don't have a pace and it's not a lot of skills and you're just motoring, for a lack of a better word, to into stats, like that catches up with you. And to me, it's no different than Hugo Gonzalez. Now, is his more refined? Yes, you can put him in a pick and roll. He'll be able to. He makes plays. He made plays at the under 18s with Spain. He was hitting the dive more. Like he does show signs of making plays. But again, when we move him up on the next level, we're not asking him to do any of those things. You stand there and you shoot, and he just can't shoot. And that same fate may happen for American Ron Holland as it will for Spanish Ron Holland.
Yeah, it
So
can
again,
happen for the Thompson twins. I mean, like
hey, you're
guys
not
that
going to
aren't.
get an argument from me on them because again, they do a lot of things really, really well. But we also saw Asur Thompson was unplayable because guess what? He was airballing over the rim on corner threes. Like we weren't guarding him. So it's like all of the motor, I play harder, like that stuff works until people make you shoot.
Yeah,
And
and I think Gonzalez is a better shooter than the
then
Thompson
I
twins.
mean
Now,
that's
athletically, no, and Hugo's a good athlete, but those dudes are just on
no, they're unreal
another
athletes.
level athletically. And then I think they're better like
But they're also
passers.
they're better with the ball in their hands. So with Amin Thompson, he can trick you for some minutes. We don't just have to stand him in the corner, right? Because he's dynamic with the ball. I'm
Mhm.
saying Hugo Gonzalez hasn't showed me, even though he's extremely productive, whether it's in Spain, Angola, I don't care. He hasn't shown me to be that dynamic with the ball to give him a pass for his jump shot not being even good right now.
I mean, to me, like I said, the getting to the foul line, I value that.
I
He
do
is
too.
a player that is going to put pressure on the rim, whether it's in transition or whether it's in the half court. He's going to get the best defender who's ever guarded him, whether it's the man defending him or the man in the paint. He's going to get guys in foul trouble, and he is going to find a way to make an impact. The way I'm looking at it is like, all right, if he can just have a reliable jump shot, then he's going to be able to impact the game in a lot of ways. I look at it as two things. One, improve as a shooter, which I don't want to say is easy to do, but it's probably the easiest to do if you have the touch. Put in the work,
But the
put it in
touch
time,
looks scary though,
and
Rob.
yeah, he's like, I mean, I saw at a tournament where he was probably like shooting 50% from the foul line.
Man,
I did see that,
listen to
but
me. Did you see the jumpers? He again, it's whatever. Limited minutes, ice cold off the bench. But at the same time, that may be a role in the NBA. Like, yo, he was not hitting it was hitting just there was no rotation on the ball. Like, it looked terrible. And these were wide open shots in mop up minutes. It wasn't like he has, there was pressure on him. Like they were leaving him open. He just looks like a guy that might not be able to shoot.
I think he's more so of a guy that, at least right now, is like a rhythm shot maker as opposed to a catch and shoot guy. And I don't think that you're putting him in the best situation, which, I mean, you can say that for a lot of guys, that if he's, you're putting him in mop up duty and you're having him stand in the corner. I think the first play, if you bring him in, you got to run some type of action play or let him get something.
But here's the thing: that's the reality of being a rookie in the NBA.
Depends on how high you get drafted.
It does, but to say, okay, so let's say if he's the 14th pick, that's a borderline playoff team. Is he going to get minutes in Miami?
It depends on if it just depends on which team, because man, so many teams have traded their picks. Man, I think the Spurs could end up with like 2 lottery picks.
I'm just saying, man. Look, go ahead, Ralph.
All right. In this last segment, we're going to talk about a little bit more about his concerns. We're going to talk about his draft range, and we're going to talk about his role with Real Madrid in 2025, because unlike a lot of his peers in this draft class, he probably has the cloudiest path to a lot of playing time. But before we get into that, let's talk about my favorite app when it comes to purchasing tickets, and it is Game Time. Why do I like Game Time so much? Because Game Time makes it easy to buy tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And they have all-in pricing. All you have to do is toggle this feature, and it will show you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And that's big. I can't explain how important that is, because there's been plenty of times I've bought tickets to an event. I go to checkout, the ticket is $50 right before I hit pay. Find out the ticket was $175. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but there's a lot of hidden fees when you use other apps. Another thing I like about Game Time is that you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you're going to sit. And then Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a ticket for a lower price. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So all you have to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms apply. Again, just create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? Game time. All right, let's go into his draft range. Right now, it is early September or mid-September. What is your draft range for Hugo Gonzalez? Do you think he's a lottery pick? You think he's mid-first round? Or do you have like quite a few wings that you have rated higher than him as of today?
I have more than a few wings that are rated higher than him. I think at best he's a mid-first round pick. But before we get there, Ralph, he should have came over here and went to college. I think he should have did it. I think he would have came over here. Again, you pick the right situation, and you can showcase that you have some skills that you can like work with. And the age range of the guys you're going to be playing against are likely 18 to 23. I think we got a lot of those old heads out, but there's still some out there in college basketball. I saw the Oklahoma State quarterback was like 25, dog. He's like a 7-year vet. That's crazy. But I think Hugo, I don't know if it was an option, but I think his draft stock would be better if he had come over here and had more opportunities to showcase the other things that he can do. Because I think on that Real Madrid team, he's a spot-up guy, and that does not play to his strengths.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Go ahead.
Last year's, this guys from Spain that came over to play college basketball hurt their draft stock. So if I'm Hugo, I'm looking at a Daimara. Some people thought he was a top 10 pick last year at this time. I don't even see him on draft boards mocks right now. Baba Miller.
All right, so look.
A lot of people were high. Hold on. I'm going to keep going down the list. So then you have Nikola Topic. You got Tijan Salon, you got Risa Shea, you got Sar. Those guys were lottery picks, and they stayed across that water.
So let's start. Adai Mara is talented of a passer and playmaker. He went to UCLA. They already had a big, and Adai Mara is trying to post up, and his his back of his thighs and his neck touch. He just does not have the strength to back anybody down, right? And it
But
just.
he didn't have that when everybody thought he was a top 10
But
pick.
at the
If
same
he
time, eventually like that catches up with you, whether
well,
you
hold on,
are
but
at UCLA
I'd
or
rather it catch up with
Uganda.
me when I got first round money. Because I think if Adai Mara stays in Spain and he has a limited role and he averages like 5 and 3 and shows flashes in that limited role, I think he gets drafted. I think Zvonimir Ivisic, who I really like, if he shows those same flashes in limited minutes playing in, I think, Croatia, I think he gets drafted.
I think he gets drafted if he'd have came out anyway last year.
I mean, I would have drafted him.
I would have drafted him. I like him. But here's the thing. Okay, so let's look at this from a different standpoint. As a big, for a lack of a better word or term, you can trick people in limited minutes overseas, right? Because it's a couple trips down the court. You can set a nice screen. You get spoon fed. Like you can trick people, right? Maybe Sar tricked some people. He definitely did his thing when he came over here in that G League Ignite game, right?
Against the team that was like 2-30.
Yeah, you can trick people, right?
Yep.
Daimar could probably trick people had he stayed. As a wing, as a guy who is supposed to be a playmaking wing, right? But you don't get those opportunities to make plays. How am I supposed to trick you if I stay?
You put it. If I'm his agent, I'm putting it on the teams. Hey, you seen A and GT, you seen the U18s. You that's his season. That's what you had a chance to watch. I do think like on one hand, and I definitely get where you're coming from. But on the other hand, he can look at it like, hey, all the top Europeans that got drafted last year
But
stayed.
those were different. Okay, so Reese Shea, like he had every opportunity to do exactly what he was meant to do.
But he improved his stock.
He did improve, right?
He improved
But
his stock. Sar improved
ultimately,
his stock. Topic improved his stock. Those guys weren't considered. All the European prospects that we were talking about at this time last year that were people were high on, their stock dropped. The ones that stayed across that water, and even Sar had like a limited role. He didn't start.
right, but he might be tricking people. Is what
He
I'm
might be, but if
saying.
I'm gonna trick you, I want to trick you as from my perspective. Now, if I'm an NBA team, I'll be like, dang, they got me.
Yeah, but here's my thing. If I'm a playmaking wing, I'm not staying. If I'm a playmaking point guard, like okay, so Trayor, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna have the ball in his hands. It doesn't matter if he came over here or not. He's gonna be fine. I'm saying if I'm Hugo Gonzalez and I know my jump shot is not my strong point, but I can do some other things pretty good, really good, and I get to work on it, I'm coming over here where I get the opportunity to do that because they're just gonna stand me in the corner, and that's not playing to my strength. Reese Shea, those guys, like I mean, I always thought Reese Shea was a 3-and-D guy from the jump from the first time we talked about him. Like it works out for him because he stands in the corner, he shoots threes, he runs in transition, and then every 3 games there's a late shot clock play where he gets to show a little bit of something that might trick you, that might even be realistic. I get it. I'm just saying from you have to evaluate what kind of skills you have and say, do I need to stay over here or do I need to go? And that's why I am a huge fan of what my man that's going to BYU, Demean, is doing because they're going to give him the ball and he's going to show you everything he has. And at the worst case, he's going to be like, you know what? I can shoot.
Well, look at this. Tijan Salon shot 37% from the floor last year and 33% from three. And he was the 6th pick.
Again, listen to me. I get it, but is it real? He's a 4. He's playing the 4. They're not asking him to do anything but go out there and shoot. Like you can boost your draft stock when you're only asked to do a
But
handful of things.
again, but he was the sixth pick, stayed over there as a 4-man that averaged 4 rebounds per game and like 0 blocks.
Man, listen, if I'm a 4 or a 5, I'm not coming over here ever.
I think for him, I do think that in EuroLeague games he may not play a lot, but I also think that he's going to be able to get some games in some of the ACB games. And I mean, for him, he has a lot of people that like him, and he's done a good job when he's played against his age group. So I don't know. I think it's going to be tricky. I think it's going to be hard to evaluate, but we've seen it so many times that European prospects that are playing on high level teams are hard to evaluate. And maybe there's a situation where he ends up going to another team on loan and he goes and plays on a lower level team in maybe the second division or a bottom team in the ACB, and he gets his opportunity to play. So I think it's going to be interesting for him. He is going to be a guy that, and I can see it now, to where we're watching a draft next year and you're going to see like these stats come up and you're going to be like, how is this guy getting talked about as a lottery pick when he averaged 6 points a game? And John Doe went to a Power 5 school and averaged 19 points a game, and this guy's ranked higher than him. I mean, I think that is going to be the case.
Listen, if I'm a 1 or a 2, I need my usage. I'm going wherever the usage is. If I'm a 3, 4, 5, you can I wouldn't say hide, but your usage isn't all that. It isn't as important because you're asked to do different things. But if I'm a 1, and I think Gonzalez is a 2 because he's not 6'7" or even 6'6" or even 6'5", I'm a 2. I need my usage, man. I got to show you I can do more. I can put the ball on the ground, run some pick and roll, and I just don't know if he's going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, and I don't know his contract situation. I know he's been with the club for a long time. So he's been with Real Madrid so long that when I went there last year, and I'll wrap up on this, I went there last year and they had like this huge like picture on the wall. It's like, I mean, it's probably like 10 feet wide, and it had like everybody that was on the club that particular season. I don't know what year it was, but you had like the senior team, and then you had like the guys that were like the peewees all in one picture. And he was on the picture, like Luka was on the picture, and Luka was probably like 17. And then Hugo was on the picture, and dude might have been like 9. But he was on the picture with Sergio Yui and all of those guys. So he's been there for probably forever. He's from the area. I don't know his contract situation, why he didn't come over. I do know that if he came over, I imagine he probably would have been one of the highest NIL guys. But I don't think he made a bad decision because he can look at the guy from Spain that tried it last year and it didn't work out for them.
They don't play the same position. And look, and it's not just
Baba,
him.
you can say Baba does.
Baba is permanent potential, man.
But that's what I'm saying. If
Baba
I think Baba, and we can end on this, I think Baba could have been the guy to trick people if he would have averaged, just had a couple dunks here and there in spot minutes. Somebody would have taken a chance on him because, you know, he's got these physical tools. But I do think that he got exposed by playing. He lost money in Real Madrid. Probably has him on some crazy buyout, and they're probably like, no, brother, you need to stay in school until you build that draft stock up so we can get this buyout money. But anyway, that wraps up this episode. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Now you have to check out the Locked On NBA podcast. Is where the local experts keep you updated on all of the biggest storylines ahead of the season. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Once again, it's Rafael Barlowe with my brother James, and we are out of here.